Alright, lock in, because today I'm going to be talking about some total drama characters that were done dirty. Most of these characters are either characters that had potential but were robbed of having a decent run by the writers, or they were built up to be something decent, like they had a nice foundation in one season but they didn't go on to be on another season, or if they were, like they were a shell of their former selves. Alright, so with that being said, it's time to get in here. Let's go. First on the list, it's Brick. I like what Brick brought to total drama Revenge of the Island. Fun guy, and his rivalry with Joe was one of the highlights of that season. Also, one of my favorite moments was Never Leave a Man Behind when he went back to save Mike, Zoe, and Cameron. While I was sad to see him leave, like he had a solid run on Revenge of the Island, and like I have no complaints about him. The problem, the reason why he's on this list, like the reason why he was done dirty, was because he wasn't back for All Stars. Instead, Sam took his place, someone that, like, yeah, I like the video game aspect of Sam. I'm a big gamer myself, but like he just didn't need another season. Like he just wasn't better than Brick, and when he came back he didn't provide much. Like he was there for absolutely no reason, just like Sierra. I feel like Brick could have had something more interesting going on, like trying to outlast his rival Joe, or like trying to take a more serious turn after getting clowned on a lot in the previous season. Brick was a better character than Sam in Revenge and had more potential on a return. The only thing that makes sense is that like maybe Brick's voice actor wasn't down for another season, because if Sam was the original over players like Brick and other Revenge characters, then that's definitely a choice, not one that I would have made. So on one hand, I'm saying that Brick should have been on All Stars, but on the other hand, like I say when talking about players replacing Sierra and Sam, like maybe it's a good thing that real good all-star characters weren't in their place, because then like just add them to the list of characters that got derailed or even destroyed in All Stars. So while there was a high chance that they could have ruined Brick if they brought him back like into All Stars, he still should have been on All Stars like out of respect. Like he earned his spot there. Next on the list is Eva. She was never really one of my favorites, but I found it so underwhelming that she wasn't utilized more as an antagonist, or at least as like a fun bully, kind of like Joe. When she returned in Island, like they already had a villain set up in Heather, which made Eva redundant. So I didn't really mind Eva's return only being for like one episode. Plus, it was really fun to root against her in that one episode. Like Lashana owned her. The problem is that she was never utilized again after that, when the show could have really used her, especially in this season. Total Drama Action is a bad season, easily the worst out of the original 3. The season had many problems, which I listed in a video that's probably already out right now. But yeah, like one of the problems was the villain problem. The season didn't have a season-long villain or antagonist. Justin and Courtney switched roles about like halfway through, and the choices for the antagonist weren't that amazing. They had to completely change Justin's character to make him a villain, and it just didn't land. They didn't utilize him in an interesting way, like villains that came before and after. And Courtney was less of a villain, less of an antagonist, and like more of just an annoyance. If Eva were the antagonist of this season, she would fit right in. Wouldn't have to change her personality really. Like just give her like more villainous content, give her a more strategic outlook on the game, and combine that with her high temper. Like, yeah, that's a nice villain right there. With this, I'm really thinking of like a season-long villain trajectory, like most villains or antagonists. But at the very least, if she could only replace one person, then replace Justin. Eva definitely could have brought more villainy to early Total Drama Action than Justin, which is why she's on the list. She had way more to give in a spot where it made sense to have her on Total Drama Action, but unfortunately, that wasn't the case now. Like she ends up being a one-time player. Next up is Trent. I was never really the biggest fan of him. Actually, I found him to be very boring, kind of like Beck from Victorious. But yeah, like in Total Drama Island, he was a chill guy, very inoffensive guy. Like there was nothing wrong with him. But in Total Drama Action, they completely destroyed his character, and all it took was the first 6 or 7 episodes of Total Drama Action. He was given this ridiculous number 9 obsession plotline that technically, like, it gave him more character, more personality, but it wasn't for the better, I'll say that. It just made him look so unstable. Not only did they derail his character, but his plotline. One of his storylines in this season with throwing challenges led to Gwen getting eliminated, which she didn't make the list, but yeah, she and Trent got screwed over in this season. Trent was a mess in action, and unfortunately, there was no redemption for him. Like, he didn't get to come back in World Tour or All-Stars, as they completely leaned into the love triangle and just forgot about Trent. Again, never liked him, but he could have been a nice little character if he stayed chill and like stayed with Gwen, but unfortunately, that didn't happen, as they not only derailed his character, they destroyed his character. Next up is Harold. I liked Harold a lot. He had his memorable moments in Island, like when he beat Owen at dodgeball, and when he was beatboxing, and like when he rigged the votes to get Courtney out. Thank you. And he became an even better character in Total Drama Action when he started standing up to Duncan's bullying more. He was having a nice redemption season, like one of the best characters on that season. So it was very unsatisfying to see Harold fall victim to Owen's mole plot and see someone like Beth make the finale. Then after that, like, Harold's just never a relevant character again. Meanwhile, Duncan got to be a major player in every season that he was on. Harold got robbed. One of those finalists should have been Harold, but unfortunately that wasn't the case, which is why he's on the list. Next up is Dawn. Funny enough, when I was watching Revenge of the Island in 2013, I didn't really see the hype around Dawn. Like, she was just a regular character that wasn't all that noteworthy. So it's amazing how she was able to make this list through a couple of rewatches. Dawn was one of the most original characters in all of Total Drama. She read auras, which was nice. She was a calm presence amidst all the chaos, and she brought a kind of like zen energy that no one else had. I like what she brought to the show, but unfortunately, I guess the writers didn't. Her elimination was disappointing, but like, whatever, it's Total Drama. Stuff like that happens. Like, you're gonna get eliminated at some point. Fine. But with what she built up in Revenge of the Island, she would have been perfect to come back for All-Stars. She had an All-Stars worthy presence and personality, and a potential revenge arc against Scott that she could come in with, and she'd fit perfectly on the heroic hamsters as a hero. Now, she'd be taking Sam's spot, which would make more sense for Brick to take a guy's spot, but I'm not going to recast All-Stars perfectly. Like, I'm just saying, like, she should have been there, or like at least been in contention to come back no matter what. Speaking of coming back, in one of my videos, I talked about the Revenge cast and how they should have had like a second season, like before All-Stars. Get to know more, let the early eliminations have deeper runs, and like see which characters are really made for All-Stars. Dawn could have really used a second season, whether it was like a second season with the Revenge cast or All-Stars, because she had so much potential to be a good character, and now like that's just gone, like only a one season type of thing. Next up is Dakota. At first, she seemed like she was going to be this fame obsessed person, but throughout Revenge of the Island, she showed that she had the potential like to be something nice. Like, she started adjusting to life out there and even had a nice dynamic with Sam. But just when her development could have turned into something deeper, they decided to make her a monster for some reason. I guess it's supposed to be for laughs, but they already have characters for that, like specifically there for laughs. Dakota was building up something nice. Like, she could have been a serious character, maybe one that had returnee potential, but that was taken away from her in favor of this unsatisfying mutant storyline. So that's why she's on the list. Next up is DJ. I love what he brought to Total Drama Island and Total Drama Action with his positive energy. So it was disappointing to see the bloke get turned into a laughingstock in Total Drama World Tour with the animal curse. He's just pathetic. Like, he's just there to be a gag for most of the season, and like, he's just unrecognizable from the DJ that I liked in Total Drama Island. But to be fair, most of the characters are somewhat unrecognizable from what they were in Total Drama Island, because that's when their personalities were like the most grounded before stuff like derailment and flenderization kicked in. But yeah, I wasn't a fan of DJ in this season. What he went through wasn't funny, and like, there was no real payoff in the end. Very unsatisfying way for him to go out. Next up, it's Lashana, the original robbed player. At this point, it's overstated, but like, she just obviously had to make the list. I liked her run in Total Drama Island. Like, she brought a lot of fun, a lot of spiciness, and I loved how she was kind of like a sister to Gwen, really looking out for her and such. And like, I really wish that that was something that was expanded on in future seasons. But yeah, the story goes like there was an After the Dock of Shame episode where the eliminated contestants got to vote someone out, which makes no sense because they lost. Like, get off my screen. But in a vote where Heather was supposed to go home, everyone just kept on saying Lashana, Lashana, Lashana. Don't vote for Lashana. Even Lindsay, someone that never said Lashana's name right, LaFonda, LaQuisha, she managed to say her name right just for this bit, which shows how dumb this episode was. Lashana got robbed, and it was downhill from there as she never quite had a good season, like as good as Island ever again. Also, fun fact, everyone in the final 6 of this season, Owen, Gwen, Heather, Duncan, Lashana, and Jeff, all of them went on to win a season of Total Drama, except for one person, Lashana. Mad unfortunate. Next is Lindsay. I've been over the reasons multiple times, but like I just had to include her in this video. So, Lindsay has always been one of my favorite characters. I loved her bubbly personality so much, like she was just so lovable, but unfortunately, this is a player that gets screwed over in every single season that she played. In Total Drama Island, the rules of the bike racing thing made absolutely no sense to begin with because they were competing for immunity, but the last person to cross the finish line gets eliminated anyway, so immunity never mattered. But Lindsay crossed the finish line last, meaning that she got eliminated while players like Owen and Duncan crashed, and Lashana and Izzy didn't even make it to the race. It's like it was more beneficial to miss the final round rather than compete in it, because if you don't compete in the final round, then you get automatic immunity. But hey, like, it's Total Drama. Wacky things happen. Whatever, man. I would say that the biggest time when Lindsay got screwed over was in Total Drama Action, when she became more of a leader and started standing up for herself more and became a bit smarter. All of that just to vote herself out in the end, which just backtracks on her whole arc in this season, where she would have been a very satisfying finalist, definitely more satisfying than Beth. Then in World Tour, she gets eliminated over a malcontent and DJ that didn't even want to be there, which was frustrating, but like, hey, that's just Total Drama. Then in Total Drama All-Stars, probably her most fair elimination, I would say that she got screwed over by the writers because they made her so unbelievably dumb that like she didn't even know how to push a baby carriage. Ridiculous. Utterly ridiculous. And since I made a victorious comparison earlier in this video, how about another one? Lindsay's trajectory is like Cat Valentine. I'd say that Lindsay was dumber from the start, but they both started out like just kind of ditzy. Then, like as the show went on, they're just brainless children, basically. I like that Lindsay is still an iconic character, but I feel like there was some stuff left on the table. Like she definitely could have been better, especially if she won Total Drama Action. Next is Ella. Ella is one of my favorite characters in all of Total Drama. So nice, so serene, so graceful. I like the Disney princess energy that Ella was bringing to Pahkitew Island, especially her singing. But instead of embracing Ella, the show treated her like a joke. I don't really care about Ella and Dave, but that could have been something like potentially, probably would have been less painful than Dave and Sky if they went that route. But the real reason why she's on this list is because they didn't take full advantage of Ella's singing, even telling her to stop singing or she'll be disqualified from the game. One of their best seasons is Total Drama World Tour, and it had singing in it. Ella was singing some bangers, so like that was definitely something that was underutilized, and I would have liked to see her stay around for a few more episodes for sure, but that wasn't the case, which is why she's on the list. Lastly, it's Nichelle. Just had to add her in here at the end of my script after realizing that I didn't have any characters from the new generation. But yeah, like I've already been through the reason why it's Nichelle like on my channel. She and Lauren are the only characters from the new generation to not make the merge, and this was in a position where Nichelle could have actually had a decent storyline, a nice rivalry with Julia in Rematch, but unfortunately that wasn't the case because they barely did anything noteworthy with Nichelle. At least Scary Girl was fun, like, so she made a lasting impression on me despite not making the merge. But Nichelle is boring. Like, she needed something, she needed to make the merge and have a storyline, but unfortunately that wasn't the case, and a lot of characters in this season fell victim to Priya and Caleb's plot armor. least utilized character of the new generation for sure, but I'm at peace with it because last year I made a Total Drama Island My Way video where I made Nichelle into what I wanted her to be. But yeah, that is all for now. Stay strong, stay brutal, because above all else, it's anything to win.
I won't let you down, Bruce. I'll keep fighting. Always.